Thank you, Mark. I feel totally relaxed now. I don't need a cigarette. Had one earlier, so I'm fine now. But with that breathing exercise, definitely don't need a cigarette now. So wait. So this is my smoking story. Can you all hear me? Okay, so hi, my name's Hannah Moore and I'm Vice Chair for Equally Well UK Expert by Experience Group. I also work for the Royal College of Psychiatrists as a peer reviewer for the Forensic and PQ Network. A little bit about me is that I love my music and I play guitar and I sing, and I have 2 cats who are my babies, who are called Rupert, who we call Doopy, because I'm not really sure why, because he's just a bit doopy, a bit stupid. And Larry, who they keep me sane to a degree, so that's a little bit about me. So I used to hang around with a much older group of young people when I was younger, and they all smoked and did drugs. Luckily, I didn't take any drugs, but I did end up smoking from a really young age. I'd say around 11 or 12 years old. I then went into foster care system where pretty much every young person smoked. I eventually went into children's homes and secure children's homes, and eventually 3 days after my 14th birthday, I went into a child and adolescent psychiatric hospital. And we all know what they were like then. I'm 34 now, so this is going back 20 years. So we all know what they were like then. And if you don't, basically all the young people would spend all the day in the smoking area chuffing on cigarettes. It's very different back then to now. There was no advice on what smoking does to you and no encouragement to stop. In fact, staff would smoke with us and chat and even have one-to-ones out in the smoking area with individuals. I had a short stay in an adult ward when I was 15, as there were no beds in the adolescent ward, and they were the same, but people would literally only leave the smoking rooms, which were inside, for breakfast, lunch and dinner. I continued to smoke with no intention to stop till I was admitted to a secure hospital around 10 years ago, where it was completely non-smoking, even on escorted leave. So the only chance of smoking was to get unescorted leave, and it took me years to get that. I was there for 5 years, around 5 years. Funny thing is, well, actually it's not funny at all, but you would always start with 15 minutes or 30 minutes of unescorted leave if you were lucky. Most patients would take that time to run to the nearest shop and buy cigarettes, which were only sold in packs of 20, and they would smoke as many as they could in their 15 or 30 minutes leave, as it was forbidden to store cigarettes in the unit, so they would hide their cigarettes in the bushes outside, hoping it wouldn't rain or that someone would find them before their next leave. A lot of the patients in this unit were on medication called clozapine, and smoking one cigarette after the other can be really dangerous for your clozapine levels and would often cause their blood test results to come back at dangerous levels. Luckily, when I got leave, I decided not to smoke. It was only when I was discharged and put in supported housing that I started again. So I was quit for 5 years and stupidly went back to it because, again, everyone there smoked. There was a garden that everyone would socialise in, and you were allowed to smoke in your rooms. It was disgusting looking back, and that's, at the moment I am a smoker, I admit that. You've probably seen me outside chuffing away because I've been so nervous. But this place smelled of smoke, and none of my family wanted to visit me because of this reason, as they were all non-smokers. Yet I've smoked ever since, other than a few months here and there where I was able to quit. I've always wanted to quit smoking for good, but I've always put obstacles in my way, such as it helps me lose weight as I smoke when I'm hungry, or it helps with my stress levels and mental health, but really I just need to stop. But why is it so hard? That's not a question. It is a question, but it's a rhetorical question. But I'm going to now read to you just a little bit of a carer's experience of this with her son. So my son was a very heavy smoker, chain smoking day and night until he had a heart attack about 10 years ago. A way to cope with stress, anxiety, loneliness and perhaps boredom and a lack of pleasures in his life. He was first diagnosed with schizophrenia about 20 years ago. I think the focus was on trying to stabilise him, and then I don't think stopping smoking was even seen as a priority then. When he had his heart attack, he told me if he had been told he wouldn't have smoked so much. He may have tried to reduce, but unfortunately, as soon as he is not coping with stress, he relapses. He still smokes a lot. We know it's very hard for people, even without SMI, to try and stop smoking. I often hear people say that they couldn't have done it without the support of their partners. Unfortunately, people with SMI are often on their own and find it difficult to have a worthwhile goal in life, which might help them give up. I think it's very hard to give up when you have very little in life. My son has tried to give up smoking numerous times. He has tried patches, nicotine, chewing gums, vaping, and sometimes he uses all of these options together as well as smoking tobacco. He has attended smoking cessation clinics, but the support given just wasn't enough. I don't know what could help him giving up when there are so many sources of dissatisfaction. I got it. No, I'm not going to say it again. Dissatisfaction in his life. I said it. Now that mental health teams are paying more attention to the physical support of people with SMI, hopefully more is done to support people, especially young people, not to develop bad habits in the first place. Obviously, the best thing is not to start. Working with school children is paramount to raise awareness. The tobacco industry is making a lot of money. What could the government do? So that was from a carer from the Equally Well Expert by Experience group. And this is now my bit. I haven't got an answer, and nor has the carer who wrote that statement. So if anyone, if you in here has the answer, please find me in the break. But I can tell you a few ways in which I tried to quit and what was the most successful, even though I've not quit, and I should admit to this as I already have. If you see me outside having a cheeky cigarette, it wouldn't look good, would it? I'm giving this talk on smoking and I'm just chuffing away at a cigarette. But I've tried patches, but I found that they would either just fall off or make me itchy. I've tried the inhalators, but it just wasn't enough. I've tried vaping, which did work for a while but I went out on, I don't usually drink, and I went out on a bit of a birthday cocktail bender with a few friends. And we decided while we were drunk to share a packet of cigarettes, even though we were all vapors and we'd come off the cigarettes. And that was January, and I started slowly having one every now and then. So I'd go up to someone and say, can I buy a cigarette off you or something? And I'd give them £1 and they'd give me a cigarette, and I'd be like, okay, that's my fix. So that was January, and I started slowly having one every now and then. And now I find myself smoking more and more. But what really did work for me, and I quit for over a year, was medication called Champix. I think someone mentioned it earlier. Champix, for people who don't know what it is a pill that you take for 2 weeks while smoking. And then by the end of the 2 weeks or before, which is what happened to me, makes you dislike the taste of cigarettes, and it does really work. I was barely smoking by the end of the 2 weeks, and I was really only smoking for the sake of it. But you're supposed to stop smoking after the 2 weeks and keep taking the tablets until your doctor or pharmacist agrees to stop. Unfortunately, it can have an effect on your mental health, and it did with me, so I had to stop taking them earlier. But I still managed over a year cigarette-free, and my mental health went back to being okay. So personally, if it doesn't affect your mental health or your health, Champix is the way to go. Just to let you know, I trialled it whilst I was in the community, and I got a lot of support from my pharmacist and mental health team, and they were brilliant. They rang me regularly to check in, and took my blood pressure and the chemist at the chemist, and generally were great. Unfortunately, whilst an inpatient, which I've been many times since NHS has been smoke-free, there wasn't much support. Like on my last admission, I was just told I'll just order some vapes from eBay or get some relatives to bring up some vapes. So actually, this is what got me addicted to vapes, so I still vape now as well as smoke. It's not good, really, is it? In other hospitals, I've just been given one of those inhalators which basically look like tampons, and told I could use that with nothing else. And that didn't work either. It was just like puffing on a piece of air. In the community, they're doing really good work, such as running groups, regular checkups when you're quitting, pharmacist support, mental health support and GP appointments, but much needs improving in inpatient services. They could do groups around smoking cessation, encouraging you to stay quit once back in the community, give you coping skills and encouragement for after discharge to stay quit, use stop smoking champions, offer better smoking cessation advice from a professional, talk about reasons to quit such as the money side of it, as I know that's a massive reason why I want to quit for good, and a lot of other people want to quit for good because of the money. They think, oh well, I've got to die of something, so I'll smoke. But if you think about that, you then think about the $13.99 that I just spent on 20 cigarettes. It's like, it's stupid, it's crazy. So basically there's a lot that can be done. I'm sure some services now are doing things, but I've yet to see it myself. I'd love to hear about anyone who knows if this kind of thing is happening. Thank you for listening to my presentation.